Blessings, namaste, and love, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic astrologer, and medium Sette. And as always, I thank you for offering me this opportunity to share with you my spiritual and astrological insights. And in this video, we will be highlighting what is transpiring in the month of May of 2025. My goodness, we're moving so very quickly through this year. And as always, that being said, we cannot emphasize enough the importance of being in the moment, staying grounding, continually clearing yourself energetically so that you can make the most of these opportunities that are being presented to us. You know, I observe all planetary alignments to contain opportunity. It's when we understand how to work with the energies of the aspects of the planets, of the signs, that we tap into the highest vibrational potential of any aspect or alignment. Remember, the planets, the signs have no power over us. It's how we choose to craft, how to bring to form the energies that are being offered to us, as well as and including as to how they align in our personal astrological charts. I actually have a couple of videos where I'm speaking of these elements of astrology specifically. I've shared them quite often, so you can look at them on my website, through my website, on my YouTube page. Remember, I'm always encouraging us to understand how to work with the energies, how to go with the flow. And when we allow ourselves to understand those probabilities, then we counteract any negative effect that may be presented to us based on any of these astrological configurations. It's when we work against the energy that quite often we bring to form, without recognizing, an adverse outcome to the alignments. And that's actually a good segue with what I want to begin this video with, touching upon. Pluto will be moving retrograde on May 4th. Pluto moved into Aquarius earlier this year. Actually, it fully advanced into Aquarius earlier this year. Last year, it dipped into Aquarius, went back into Capricorn, and earlier this year, it moved full force in Aquarius. And also, I do have two videos actually talking about the potentials of the Pluto and in Aquarius transit. But in this case, on May 4th, Pluto turns retrograde at almost 4 degrees of Aquarius, and it will move direct on October 13th. And at that point, it is 1 degree of Aquarius, almost 1.5 degrees of Aquarius. And remember, how much we will experience these cycles is dependent upon how they are placed in our charts, as well as the exact alignments they form to our charts. Not everyone will have the same experience from any planetary alignment. Again, it's based upon how it is meshing into our astrological charts. Do we gain a better understanding on a personal level how we can embrace and what we can experience through these astrological experiences? In this segment, I'm just offering us a point of reference as to how to work with the energy and how to understand it all from a spiritual perspective. Pluto represents, among many things, great power, our will power. Whenever an individual has a prominent Pluto placement in their chart, quite often they do demonstrate and bring to form great success. Pluto is the one that represents our willpower as well as our determination. So as Pluto is going retrograde, it's an opportunity to really reflect on that element of ourselves, our willpower, our determination, and through the retrograde period to reinvigorate that willpower. The greater the will that we have for something, the more we have the opportunity to bring to form that desire. Pluto is great desire. Pluto is also transformation. And again, I'm highlighting only a couple of the constituents of Pluto. Pluto is misunderstood because Pluto also represents the physical death experience, but also that's a transformation. It's not necessarily an ending to our spiritual experiences. It's a continuation and in a different form. Whenever Pluto has a strong influence specifically by transit in our astrological charts, and again, depending upon the alignments and the exactness of those alignments, quite often we do experience a great transformation and a rebirth. Many times it's what I believe Wayne Dyer referred to as dying while you are still alive. It may feel as though we are experiencing the physical ending of the human experience. However, through a Pluto experience, that which no longer serves a purpose for us is being dissolved so that we can be the greatest part of ourselves. It's a transformation, no different, and very much similar to when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon and becomes a butterfly. That transformation is dramatic. It's also arduous and quite painful for that butterfly, and many times we do experience great pain through these experiences. We never underestimate the difficulties. However, we inspire us all to recognize the power that we are being inspired to recognize within ourselves. I've said this quite often. This power allows us to recognize that we are the masters of our destiny, that regardless of what unfolds in the outside world, it need not have a negative impact on our well-being when we recognize that power, as always, from a place of love. That power doesn't serve a greater purpose when we endeavor to inflict that power upon another, when we try to control another, when we suppress another. That's the less than vibrational frequency of the Pluto experience. And what I suggest during this Pluto retrograde is to reflect on your willpower and determination and strengthen that element of yourself. That Pluto element provides the opportunity to bring to form many great ambitious desires. If you look at all the things that have been created on Earth, that Pluto element is what created and brought to form all the many blessings and the beauty that we that we observe on our planet Earth, as well as actually that we do deserve to enjoy while we are in this human form. So allow yourself in these next 4, 5, 6 months to just reflect on really your own willpower, your own determination to bring to form whatever it is that you desire to experience and enjoy. Your goals, your ambitions. We all have the potential within ourselves to bring all of that to form. We've just forgotten that part of us, that we have that ability. Just look outside your window and observe everything that is on Earth. That power that created all of that is also within you, and that power is represented to and connected with, but not specific to, this Pluto element and this Pluto part of our human experience. So again, on May 4th, Pluto will move retrograde. And for those wondering, the exact time of that is 11:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It moves retrograde at almost 4 degrees of Aquarius. Pluto turns direct on October 13th at 10:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And at that position is about 1.5 degrees of Aquarius. Now, our next full moon is on May 12th. May 12th at 12:50, almost 12:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we have our full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio, actually, Pluto is the one who rules Scorpio. Every sign has a planetary ruler, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. I've spoken of this quite often, that Scorpio does represent the darkest of the dark, but also that Scorpio element is representative of great power. Now, at this full moon, we have Uranus, who brings forth great and sometimes unexpected change in close proximity to the sun, as well as in opposition to the full moon. Uranus awakens. So in this instance, what I would suggest to continue awakening to is that power. Also, your ability within yourself to transform yourself so that you can be who you truly desire to be, the greatest potential that you have brought into this human form to demonstrate. Allow yourself to recognize that you have the ability within yourself to certainly bring all of that to form. With the Uranus elements, I would suggest to recognize that the outside world can feel very, very unsettling. And that is connected to these energetic shifts. Scorpio is also connected with the spirit realm. So we may feel the intensified continuation of this clearing, purging of discordant energy, especially to those who are very sensitive to those shifts in energies. And again, when we understand the tools that are available for us, we can counteract any negative potential of any external circumstance. We have to just choose to employ the tools that are necessary for us to counteract any discord, or rather feeling the effects of any discord in the outside world. As always, when we look at all of this, it's certainly not to instill fear, it's to bring awareness. Every one of us has the free will choice to employ the tools available to counteract the negative effects and keep ourselves energetically clear and grounded. That Uranus element certainly can bring forth a tremendous amount of shifts and changes, especially energetically. It can also stir up a lot of discordant energy so that it can be cleared, purged, and released, because it just doesn't serve a purpose for us any longer. At the full moon, in the full moon chart cast for the United States, we do have the sun and Uranus at the highest point in the chart and the moon at the lowest sector of the chart. That being said, we may feel that, or rather we are being given the opportunity to recognize whatever is a false belief, whatever doesn't necessarily create stability and a strong foundation in our lives. We're being given that opportunity to recognize that. Unless we have a strong spiritual, emotional, and energetic foundation within ourselves, we don't have the proper opportunity to build upon that, as well as, in very simple terms, to achieve what we desire to achieve. This full moon certainly can bring forth the awareness of emotional discord that needs to be just released. Because I always use this analogy, especially regarding emotional discord and where there may be some emotional compromise. You see, the emotions in our early years, our emotional, we create a very strong. All right, the early years are the opportunity to create a very strong emotional foundation that we build upon throughout our lives. And when there may be a compromise in that emotional foundation, we don't always have the ability to properly create what we desire, because there's a compromised emotional integrity, if you will. But we will be offered throughout our lives the opportunity to create a balance where there may be imbalance regarding emotional conditions. So this full moon may be the opportunity to do just that. But in order to do that, we need to be aware of it. And unless we are fully welcoming the awareness, we may not recognize what Spirit is trying to show us regarding that emotional compromise that needs to be corrected. Part of this full moon, it's also an opportunity for all of us to really welcome, among many things, financial prosperity. You know what I also would suggest, and I believe I touched upon this and spoken this quite a few times, to recognize your own relationship with money. That was actually part of the Mercury retrograde experience that I spoke of. To recognize your own relationship with money, the beliefs you have towards financial prosperity. I've always said that everyone has the opportunity, as well as by birthright, the blessings to enjoy financial wellness in all our lives. We're not designed and not intended to struggle financially. At this full moon, allow yourself perhaps to reflect on your relationship with money and to recognize how perhaps you may be creating or even inadvertently miscreating lack in your own lives. When we have a poor relationship and belief towards money, that's when we struggle and we experience the element of lack. As I have always said, we are all designed with the birthright to welcome and enjoy the blessings of financial prosperity, so we don't have to struggle. We're not designed to struggle. Many times, quite often, those struggles are attached to a belief we have regarding finances, as well as many other things as well. This is a vast topic, but I'm only offering some suggestions at this full moon to be at a place where you're allowing yourself to know that you have been designed to enjoy these financial blessings and to release any joy. Now, on May 20th at 2:54 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the Sun transits into the sign of Gemini. Among many things, Gemini represents communications, our thoughts and words. As the Sun transits the sign of Gemini, I'm always suggesting to really recognize how, one, we begin the creative process with thoughts. The creative process represents thought, word, and deed. The creation, our ability to bring to form what we desire, begins with our thinking and our thoughts. The next step is the spoken word. Remember, there are power in our words. We've said for many, many years now, there's a reason why vocabulary is referred to as spelling, because with the words we cast spells. I learned a very, very long time ago in my early years of discovering and exploring metaphysics, to truly understand and be aware and be mindful of my thoughts and my words. At times I do find myself constantly, especially in my early years of discovering metaphysics, of exploring metaphysics, of being acutely mindful of censoring my thoughts and words, and to be clear and certain that my thoughts are in alignment with the words that I speak, because also that's very much part of that creative process, or the lack of creativity when there is an incongruency between our thoughts and our words, when we're thinking one thing but saying something else. There's an incongruency there. So perhaps as the Sun transits the sign of Gemini, certainly allow yourself to have the courage to recognize, is there an incongruency with what I'm thinking and with what it is that I'm speaking? Are my words in alignment with all that I feel and all that I believe? Speak your truth, but also honor the truth of another, even though the truth of another may be diametrically opposed to your own. I've been saying this for quite some time now. It is my intention to create a video based on truth and to highlight my understanding of truth. In this realm of consciousness, no truth is absolute. So through this experience, allow yourself to honor your own truth as well as honoring the truth of another. And with your spoken words, be mindful that what you're speaking is very much connected and in alignment with your thoughts as well as your truth. And as always, create that dynamic, always from that place of love. Now, we have our next new moon coming up on May 26th. The exact time of the new moon is 11:02 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And as always, prior to the new moon, I touch upon the last cycle, the last phase of the lunar cycle, which is the balsamic moon. The balsamic moon phase begins on May 23rd at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That is the cycle of experience, the cycle of the lunar cycle that provides us the opportunity to prepare for the next lunar cycle, which begins at the new moon. Now, we do have our new moon in the sign of Gemini. So as I was just stating, that during the balsamic moon phase, allow yourself to just reflect on your own thought patterns as well as your own patterns of words and speaking, and to really reflect upon the possibility of your thoughts and words being incongruent with one another. As I said, the more the thoughts and the words are in greater alignment with one another, this new moon, we have actually in close proximity to the new moon, Mercury, who is also in Gemini. And in the chart cast for the new moon in the United States, this lunation is energizing the fifth house of the compositions, with which the fifth house represents, among many things, the creative process, creativity, as well as the elements of love. Speak your truth always from that place of love. If we're speaking in anger, with angst, we're also not necessarily bringing to form our greatest desires. Be mindful, especially at this new moon, to set forth the intention that all you speak is encoded with that element of love, and that your thoughts are always in that place of love. That dynamic not only provides us with laying the groundwork for truly experiencing and enjoying a human encounter that is based in love and filled with love, but we're projecting that love to the all of humanity. And the more that we can allow ourselves to really recognize the power of love, which begins with thoughts and then words, the more that we create and bring to form what we enjoy to experience. We experience peace and harmony within the physical form, and that's what we are radiating out to the all of humanity. We are so becoming aware of how we're creating not only our own personal realities, but the realities in the outside world. And the more the majority can first and foremost be in a place of love within themselves, that's what we radiate to the all of humanity. Certainly, if anything, so that you can enjoy a very peaceful human encounter while we are in this physical form that is not necessarily limited to matter and the physical. Remember, we're spiritual beings enjoying this human experience, and we've been so for many years have been inspired to recognize our spiritual origins. And as I understand it, in spirit, the only absolute and perhaps the only element really is love. In this realm of consciousness, we can certainly enjoy the absoluteness of love, because in this human experience, nothing is absolute. It was proven, as I understand it, in Einstein's theory of relativity, that all things are relative. We hear that we are living in a matrix, in a hologram, and that each of our experiences are really specific to our personal selves. That's also part of something bigger regarding the creative process that I do hope to elaborate on at some point. It is my own personal intention to perhaps dedicate more time to sharing the information and creating content such as these videos, if anything, and if only to inspire you to recognize your own personal human potential. I mean, I did elaborate on it in 12 chapters in my book that is still very much available on Amazon as well as in bookstores. I'm actually coming to a milestone regarding that, which I will touch upon at another point. And until then, I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Ray Sette. My intention is to inspire you to recognize and embrace your own greatest potential, but also to understand the spiritual tools such as astrology that provide us the platform and the opportunities to bring forth all that it is that we are to desire and enjoy. Once again, I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer.